The pounding on my door at 3 a.m. jolted me awake. Through the peephole, I saw Emma, my 19-year-old sister, drenched from the rain, mascara streaking down her face. When I opened the door, she collapsed into my arms, her small baby bump visible under her soaked sweater. "They kicked me out," she sobbed, shivering. "Mom and Dad. They said I'm a disappointment, a disgrace. They found out about the baby and they threw me out in the rain. My name is Sarah, and at 26, I never expected to find my teenage sister at my doorstep in the middle of the night, pregnant and disowned. But knowing our parents, I wasn't surprised. Appearance meant everything to them. What would the country club think of their unmarried teenage daughter expecting a baby? I helped Emma to the couch, wrapping her in a warm blanket. "Let me make you some tea," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. As I headed to the kitchen, my phone buzzed with messages. "Mom, don't you dare help that disgrace. Mom, if she's at your place, send her back now. Mom, she needs to learn her lesson. Dad, your mother is right. Don't get involved." My hands shook as I read their words. Emma's soft sobs from the living room made my decision easy. I blocked their numbers and focused on making tea. "They're texting you, aren't they?" Emma's voice was small, defeated. "Telling you to kick me out." I handed her the tea and sat beside her. "They did. I blocked them. You're staying here as long as you need." Emma's eyes widened. "But your job, your life? I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering." I squeezed her hand. That's what big sisters are for. The next morning, Emma told me everything. The baby's father, a college freshman she'd been dating, had josted her when she told him about the pregnancy. Our parents' reaction was to demand she take care of it or leave. When she refused both options, it waited until night to throw her out, hoping the neighbors wouldn't see. "I didn't know where else to go," she whispered, cradling her tea. "Everyone else would tell them." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the tears and fear, I saw determination. She wanted this baby, despite everything and everyone telling her she couldn't do it. "Then they don't deserve to know," I said firmly. "My spare room is yours. We'll turn it into a nursery." Emma burst into tears again. But this time, they were different. "How can you be so sure? I don't even know how to be a mom. And I don't know how to be an aunt, but we'll figure it out together." The next few days were a blur of preparations. I helped Emma enroll in online classes to finish high school, found her a part-time remote job she could do from home, and scheduled her first proper prenatal appointment. My salary as a software developer was enough to support us both, but Emma insisted on contributing what she could. The family backlash was swift and vicious. Aunts called to tell me I was enabling bad behavior. Cousins sent messages about how I was destroying the family. Even our grandmother, usually the voice of reason, suggested I was making a mistake. "Let her face the consequences," she said during one call. "It's the only way she'll learn." "She is facing them," I replied. "She's choosing to have this baby and finish her education. Those are pretty adult consequences, don't you think?" The call stopped after that, but the silence that followed was deafening. Holidays approached, and for the first time, Emma and I weren't included in family plans. No invitation to Thanksgiving dinner, no Christmas card, nothing. Instead, we started our own traditions. We painted the spare room together, turning it into a cozy nursery. Emma chose a soft green color, saying she wanted it to be perfect for either a boy or girl. She decided to keep it a surprise. One evening, as we assembled the crib, I assembled while Emma supervised and ate pickles straight from the jar. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly. "For what? Eating all my pickles?" She managed a small laugh. "No, for ruining your life. You should be dating, having fun, not taking care of your pregnant teenage sister." I put down the screwdriver and faced her. "Emma, listen to me. You haven't ruined anything. Our parents' reaction, that's on them. Their choice to throw away their daughters instead of supporting us, that's their burden to bear, not ours." As autumn turned to winter, Emma bloomed. Despite everything, she maintained her grades, worked her part-time job, and prepared for the baby. Each small achievement was a quiet rebellion against our parents' prediction of failure. But the hardest test came one December evening when I arrived home from work to find Emma in tears, clutching her phone. "Mom found my new number," she whispered. She said she hopes I fail. That all come crawling back when I realize what a mistake I've made. I took the phone gently from her hands. You know what? Let's prove her wrong. Not because we need her approval, but because you deserve to succeed. Emma wiped her eyes and nodded, one hand resting protectively on her growing bump. We will, she said, with a determination I'd never heard before. This baby deserves better than their hatred. That night, as snow fell outside our warm apartment, I realized something profound. Sometimes family isn't about blood or obligation. Sometimes it's about choosing to stand together when others try to tear you apart. The weeks passed, and Emma's due date drew closer. I converted my home office into a cozy study corner for her, complete with a comfortable chair and a laptop stand that accommodated her growing belly. She was excelling in her online classes, maintaining a 4.0 GPA despite everything. One morning, while making breakfast, I overheard her talking to her unborn baby. Your Aunt Sarah is the best person in the world, she was saying softly. She saved us both, you know. And she's going to spoil you rotten. I pretended not to hear, but my heart swelled. The moment was interrupted by a knock at the door. Through the peephole, I saw our mother standing there, perfectly coiffed as always. I know you're in there, she called out. The neighbors told me they've seen Emma. We need to talk. Emma appeared behind me, panic in her eyes. I squeezed her hand reassuringly. Go to your room, I whispered. You don't need this stress. Once Emma was safely out of sight, I opened the door, but kept the security chain in place. What do you want, Mom? She tried to peer past me into the apartment. People are talking, Sarah. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? The Hendersons saw Emma at the grocery store yesterday. She looks like she's ready to pop. She's 7 months pregnant, Mom, not dying of shame like you seem to be. Don't be dramatic. We can still fix this. I've spoken to a private adoption agency. Stop right there. I cut her off. Emma is keeping her baby. She's finishing school, she has a job, and she's doing amazingly well without your help. Mom's face hardened. She's ruining her life, and you're enabling it. When that baby comes, you'll both realize what a mistake this was. The only mistake was expecting you to act like a mother. Goodbye, Mom. I closed the door on her protests, my hands shaking. When I turned around, Emma was standing in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. Did you mean that? She asked. About me doing amazingly well? I pulled her into a hug. Every word, you're the strongest person I know. That evening, Emma went into premature labor. The doctors managed to stop it, but she was put on strict bed rest for the remaining 2 months. I took some time off work to help her, working remotely when possible. During one of her checkups, we ran into Dad at the hospital. He was there for a routine physical and froze when he saw us in the waiting room. Emma instinctively grabbed my hand but held her head high. Dad looked old, I realized. Tired. His eyes lingered on Emma's belly before he turned away without a word. Are you okay? I asked Emma after he left. She nodded, rubbing her bump. You know what's funny? I used to be so scared of disappointing them. Now I realize they're the ones who should be disappointed in themselves. The next few weeks were a blur of preparations. I caught Emma making lists late at night. Baby names, study schedules, budget plans. She was determined to prove everyone wrong. I've decided on a name, she told me one evening. If it's a girl, I want to name her Sarah. Emma, no. Yes, she insisted. You gave me a future when our parents tried to take it away. I want my daughter, if it's a girl, to know that story. Before I could argue, she grabbed her stomach, eyes wide. The baby's coming, she whispered. 16 hours later, little Sarah Grace came into the world, screaming her lungs out and perfectly healthy despite being 3 weeks early. She had Emma's nose and a head full of dark hair. As I watched Emma hold her daughter for the first time, I saw no trace of the scared teenager who had shown up at my door that rainy night. In her place was a mother, tired but triumphant, whispering promises to her newborn. The nurses asked about calling our parents. Emma shook her head. My family is already here, she said, looking at me with tears in her eyes. Later that night, as Emma and baby Sarah slept, I checked my phone to find a message from Dad. Is she okay? The baby. It was the first time he'd acknowledged the pregnancy as anything other than a problem to solve. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. They're both perfect. No thanks to you. Then I turned off my phone and watched my niece sleep, marveling at how something so small could make me feel so fiercely protective. Our parents had thrown away the chance to know this perfect little person, all because they cared more about appearances than family. Their loss, I thought. Emma and baby Sarah had me, and I wasn't going anywhere. 2 years passed in a blur of first steps, first words, and countless milestones. Emma graduated high school with honors and started taking community college classes while working part-time from home. Baby Sarah grew into a precocious toddler who had us both wrapped around her tiny finger. Our little family unit thrived in its own way. Emma proved to be an amazing mother, balancing her studies, work, and parenthood with a determination that made me proud every day. I'd been promoted at work and moved us to a larger apartment, giving Sarah a proper room of her own. Then came the wedding invitation. Our cousin Jessica was getting married, and surprisingly, we were both invited. The invitation arrived with a note from our grandmother. "Please come, it's time to heal." Emma stared at the invitation for a long time, bouncing Sarah on her hip. "Should we go?" "Only if you want to," I said. "We don't owe them anything." The day of the wedding arrived crisp and clear. Emma dressed Sarah in a tiny purple dress that matched our bridesmaid dresses. Jessica had insisted on including us in the wedding party despite our parents' protests. As we walked into the church, Sarah holding both our hands and giggling, the family's reaction was immediate. Conversations stopped. Heads turned. Our mother, impeccable in her designer dress, froze mid-conversation. But it was Sarah who broke the ice. She spotted our grandmother and ran to her, arms outstretched. "Great-grandma," she squealed, remembering her from the photos Emma had shown her. Grandmother scooped her up, tears in her eyes. "Oh my," she whispered, looking at Emma. "She's perfect." The ceremony went smoothly, though I noticed our parents sitting stiffly in the front row, deliberately not looking our way. At the reception, Emma surprised everyone by giving a touching speech about family and second chances, her voice never wavering. "Sometimes," she said, looking directly at our parents, "the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. But there's always room for both, if people are willing to try." Later, as Sarah charmed everyone on the dance floor with her toddler moves, our father approached Emma. "She looks like you did at that age," he said quietly. Emma picked up Sarah, who was starting to get sleepy. "Would you like to hold her?" The moment hung between them like a bridge waiting to be crossed. Slowly, Dad reached out, and Sarah went to him without hesitation. "Hi, Grandpa," she said sleepily, laying her head on his shoulder. I watched my father's face crumple, years of pride and stubbornness washing away in an instant. Mom stood frozen across the room watching. "I'm sorry," Dad choked out. "We were so wrong, Emma, so terribly wrong." Emma touched his arm gently. "I know, but Sarah doesn't. She doesn't know about the pain or the rejection. She just knows love. Maybe we can start there." That night marked a turning point. It wasn't perfect. Years of hurt don't disappear in one evening. But it was a start. Over the next few months, our parents began making tentative steps toward reconciliation. First, it was just cards and photos. Then came careful visits, always under my watchful eye. Mom brought Sarah a teddy bear one day, her hands shaking as she handed it over. "I've missed so much," she whispered. "You have," Emma agreed. "But Sarah has a lot of love to give, if you're ready to receive it." One evening, as we watched Sarah play with both our parents in the living room, Emma turned to me. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For giving me the strength to do this on my terms. For showing me that standing up for yourself doesn't mean closing your heart forever." I hugged her tightly. "You did all the hard work. I just provided the couch that rainy night." "You provided so much more than that," she smiled. "You showed me what real family means." Looking at our parents playing with Sarah, seeing the joy on their faces, I realized something profound. Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the most beautiful outcomes. Emma's courage in choosing her baby, my decision to stand by her. These choices had not only created our own little family, but had eventually helped heal our larger one. Sarah ran over to us, her eyes bright. "Mommy, Auntie Sarah, look what Grandpa taught me." As she demonstrated her new trick, making everyone laugh, I caught Mom's eye across the room. There was regret there, but also hope. We had all learned valuable lessons about love, forgiveness, and the true meaning of family. Emma squeezed my hand. "We did it," she whispered. Yes, we had. Through midnight tears and morning triumphs, through first steps and gradual healing, We had created something beautiful from something broken. And in the end, love had won, not because we forgot the past, but because we chose